Hello and a very warm welcome. I wasn't planning to make another video before Christmas, but somebody told me about this video from Phuket Word, which looks at my Isle of May observations, and I thought I would make a very quick response video. Now, I've had a quick look through his video, and it appears to be full of nonsense, really. And I'm not quite sure what the best method to tackle the video is. So I've decided I will play it and comment as we go along.
Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters, and debunkers. I'm going to take a quick and final look at one of these claims made by Miles Davis that photographs like this cannot be taken on a flat Earth. But I'm going to go through some of the points where he's completely wrong. He's either being very ignorant, very stupid, or very deceptive. Take your pick, because what's presented here doesn't even agree with what globe Earth defenders would say is eye level. The whole thing about the horizon rising to eye level is an observation that anyone can make as long as we understand what eye level is.
Okay, this observation and this proof that the Earth cannot be flat hinges upon the fact that the horizon in this picture, in this video, looking out over the North Sea here, the horizon does not rise to eye level. Now, he says that the horizon rising to eye level is something that we can all observe, but it's not, and that's the point. Wherever you look on the Earth, unless you are right down at the surface, and by that I don't mean standing on the surface, I mean your eye is right down near to the surface, an inch or so above the surface, the horizon will not rise to eye level. From my vantage point on Traprain Law at 210 meters, this photograph clearly demonstrates that the horizon is well below eye level. Eye level is a line parallel to flat surface extending into the distance. If we were looking out over a flat surface here, then there will be a line at 210 meters running out parallel to that surface. Now, eventually, due to perspective, the surface and that line that runs parallel to it would appear to converge. That's an effect of our vision and perspective. But what we have here is the focal height of the lighthouse at 73 meters, already at this short distance from the camera, appearing above the horizon. And that's not possible on a flat Earth.
Eye level is the horizontal line of sight that goes across the center of your field of view.
No, it isn't. Eye level does not have to go across the center of your field of view. If you want to establish that yourself, simply look forwards, and then you moving only your eyes look up or look down. The center of your field of view changes, and it is not level with where your eyes are.
Your eye level, though, is horizontal, a line of sight that is horizontal. And it just so happens that when you do that, the surface will appear to rise to your eye level. So just to be clear...
No, the surface does not appear to rise to your eye level if you use an instrument to measure it, or in my case, you use a reference object, the lighthouse and the horizon. to determine whether the horizon is rising to eye level. The horizon does not rise to eye level, but it should do if the Earth was flat.
As it always have been since looking into flat Earth and discussing how we observe things across the Earth, eye level to me, and I'm pretty sure to most other people investigating the flat Earth, including those who wish to defend the globe, is this perpendicular view to our vertical. So it's a horizontal line of sight that goes off into the distance. So as
Okay, if you're standing on a flat surface and you're looking out, your eye level will be horizontal, or at least parallel to that surface. This picture that Phuket Word is showing, clearly we are up a fairly high hill in this picture. Maybe higher than the Traprain Law Hill that I was standing on, I don't know. He's drawn a yellow line across the screen and claimed that this is eye level, but he provides no evidence to support that I've heard yet anyway. The only way he can justify this claim that this is eye level is if the height at which the camera was located turns out to be exactly the same height as, say, the top of this island here, which is where he's claiming eye level is. Let's see if he does that.
As long as your line of sight is horizontal, then that is your eye level in the dead center of the screen, which ultimately...
Eye level does not have to be dead center of the screen.
When we look straight across a flat surface, we'll split that view into the surface being below the eye level and the sky being above eye level. Now,
let's just get back to this center of the screen nonsense. Imagine that this same photograph was taken, but the camera was tilted downwards very slightly. This would have the effect of raising the horizon in the image so that it was above the center of the screen. Is Phuket Word now claiming that eye level it has suddenly changed and maybe become, I don't know, this building here or this building here is now at eye level? The camera's location has not changed. Eye level has not changed. It's simply the angle at which the camera is pointing has changed. The line of sight, the field of view have changed slightly. The eye level has not.
Those defending the globe will even admit that the surface appears to come up this far, but they will argue about minute degrees of difference at a very high height.
Okay, the closer you are to the surface of the Earth, the more the horizon appears to rise to eye level. The closer you are to the surface, when you look out over the water, the more the horizon will appear to be at eye level. The higher up you are, the more the horizon drops away from eye level. This is a demonstrated fact, and arguing about a few degrees or a few tenths of degrees is hardly the point. The point is that on a flat surface, it should not drop below eye level at all.
But here we have Miles claiming to be at just 210 meters and a horizon that isn't anywhere near in line with the eye level or the line of sight.
No, eye level and line of sight are utterly different things.
Eye level is not represented here at all, but the claim is made that the horizon is at eye level and that the...
No, I'm not claiming the horizon is at eye level. What I'm claiming is the horizon is not at eye level, and it should be if the Earth was flat.
Eye level is generally just the height at which the photograph was taken. So there is, in fact, we're told to ignore any tilt that might have occurred and say that it's irrelevant. And the only focus or only admission that was made in this particular argument was that eye level is 210 meters. That's it. But if we just have a look at where the actual center line across the field of view is here, it's there. So we know that the line of sight, the direction in which this camera was tilted, was below horizontal and pointing at the bottom of these cliffs. That's where the camera was aimed once it was zoomed in. So we do not even have a proper representation of eye level. Remembering that
I've not made any claim about eye level. I have not claimed that there is any reference object in this particular picture which is at the same level as the camera. That is the point. If we were on a flat Earth, then the horizon itself should provide that. But the horizon clearly does not provide that, because the 73-meter focal point of the lighthouse is above the horizon, even though we are looking down towards it. Therefore, we are looking down our line of sight, if you want to call it that. Our direction of view is downwards, and yet something much lower than the line of sight, much lower than eye level, appears above the horizon.
A lot of the globe Earth defenders and anti-flat earthers who are prominent on the scene jumped on these images as a great example of debunking the flat Earth. But I'm sure even most of them would not make a claim with an eye level that is down here.
That is not eye level. The yellow line he's drawn across this screen is not eye level. That is simply the center of the field of view.
And clearly shows that the photograph has not been taken at a horizontal level.
It's never been claimed it was horizontal. It's a still frame from a video. I was simply panning around the local area. This wasn't the intended object of the video that I was taking. It was a serendipitous event that I became aware of later on, once I looked back at the video and I realized the significance of the lighthouse and the horizon.
So, along with this claim that the horizon is lower than this, the top of this lighthouse at 73 meters, we have drawings like this. So here's a comparison.
This is not from my video, and it's not one of my drawings.
Of what it would be like if the Earth were flat, according to one of the people supporting Miles's photograph here. So we have the guy standing on top of a trapane or whatever it's called, and their eye level is horizontal to their vertical. Okay, and we are told that we have this line of sight that goes through the top of the lighthouse and then down here, in which case we should see the sea beyond the lighthouse if we...
That's correct. And you're not just told that. That's what the picture shows, or the line of sight through the lighthouse is what the picture shows. What it doesn't show is the sea behind the top of the lighthouse and extending up above it.
We are on a flat Earth. So this is an orthographic side-on view of this image, but it doesn't, for a start...
No, it's not a side-on view of this image. It's a side-on view of what a flat Earth would look like.
But it doesn't show the line of sight to be going through the lighthouse. It shows the line of sight to be going through there.
There is a line of sight from every point on this picture to the camera. Whether it's right up here in the sky, right down here in the foreground, the ocean, the island, the lighthouse, this structure on the island, this one. There is a direct line of sight from every single point to the camera. Please learn what line of sight means.
And then this idea that eye level is just a reference point that is perpendicular to the observer's vertical. No, eye level means that your line of sight is also looking at eye level. So what we should have to represent this properly is this green line of sight also going through this line of eye level.
If the lighthouse was up here, it would be 210 meters above sea level. It's not. It's 73 meters above sea level. So the lighthouse has to be down here. I have to be looking down towards it. You cannot have this lighthouse at eye level for somebody who's at 210 meters. You can only have the lighthouse at eye level for somebody who's at 73 meters.
Which is 90 degrees to the vertical. So it's not. They're basically picking a point in the photograph. And again, I mean, eye level, it's just not, it doesn't have any relationship at all to do with the actual photograph. Yeah?
Absolutely. The point of the photograph is that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level. We can show that the horizon is below the 73 meter line of sight.
So the comparison was made for a view that would take place on a curved spherical Earth. Sighting through the lighthouse misses the horizon. And the MSL means the mean sea level. So again, we have this assumption that the observer his down is vertical to the center of a spherical Earth. So that gives him an eye level that's kind of way above horizontal, looking up into the...
Well, I wouldn't call this eye level because it's not level to anything. This is it's 210 meters here and perpendicular to 210 meters on a spherical Earth is simply a line that heads off into the distance way above the Earth and getting further and further away from the Earth's surface as it goes.
Sky like that. I mean, this is just ridiculous anyway. That isn't eye level by anyone's standards, even the...
I probably wouldn't call it eye level, and even the person who drew the picture has placed it in inverted commas, indicating that they don't consider it to be eye level either.
The worst, most ignorant globe Earth defender wouldn't put eye level up there, I don't think. And then again, we have this claim that there is a line of sight going through the top of the lighthouse, and of course here it doesn't appear to hit the sea, so this would appear to validate the claim that this photograph is taken on a spherical Earth with the horizon.
Well, absolutely, it does validate that claim. It shows what would be expected on a spherical Earth matches quite well with what is seen in reality. I actually had a better representation of this using Walter Bisland's curvature calculator in my video. Why didn't you show that?
Being the water curving away from us in the distance. So now let's look at what else is wrong and can be asked instead of this question here. So I'd say this question is completely wrong.
This question is not wrong. If the Earth is flat, this photograph was taken on a flat Earth, then it ought to be easy for anybody who thinks the Earth is flat to explain how this photograph, how the horizon can be lower than the focal height. So far, Mr. Phuket Word, you have utterly failed to do that. There's nothing wrong with this question. This is the question. How is it possible for the lighthouse tower, the focal point here to be above the horizon. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go back here. Here we go. I'll replay a little bit.
So now let's look at what else is wrong and can be asked instead of this question here. So I'd say this question is completely wrong. It's misleading. We can see that the line of sight is pointing down. Okay, it's not
the line of sight. There is a line of sight to every point on the picture. That you have drawn there, the yellow line, is not the line of sight. It is the center line of the field of view.
eye level, so that invalidates that in the first place. And this is not a line of sight that is any.
Yes, it is a line of sight. The camera has a direct line of sight to the lighthouse and to the sky beyond it, and to the sea beyond the tower of the lighthouse, the building of the lighthouse.
Where, really, if we wanted to claim that the line of sight was going through this lighthouse, then we would have to have the center of the field of view focused on that lighthouse.
No, we would not. It's absurd to suggest that if we took a photograph where the lighthouse was right in the center of the image, would be the only valid photograph of that lighthouse. It's just ridiculous.
Would then be our line of sight. But here the claim is made that a line of sight can be made just by I don't know, just by drawing an arbitrary line somewhere through this image. Oh, simply because of the claim that the camera height is at 210 meters, therefore we are higher up than the lighthouse, and so we should be looking down through the lighthouse because we are at a higher position.
We are looking down towards the lighthouse.
But of course, we can see already here that we're looking down way further than the actual.
No, we're looking down to the lighthouse. The lighthouse is below the height at which the camera is located.
Lighthouse, so it's not even in line with the camera's eye level. It's all just very, very messy and in no way a valid claim whatsoever. It's just a straw man argument. So we can.
A straw man argument is something entirely different. A straw man argument is to misrepresent your opponent's point of view in some way, and then that is obviously incorrect, and then to demolish that misrepresentation. It is not a misrepresentation of the flat Earth model to suggest that the horizon should rise to eye level.
Cross this out as well, and I would like.
You can't cross out the focal height of the lighthouse just because you don't like it. The focal height of that lighthouse is 73 meters above mean sea level.
To ask the question, really, when you look at the horizon being here, just below the lighthouse, what about the fact that on any Earth, flat or round, how can the horizon be higher than the island?
Well, that's very easy to answer. In our field of view, the horizon should be higher on both a spherical Earth and on a flat Earth than the top of this particular island when viewed from 210 meters on Traprane law. The location of the horizon and the island is dependent upon where the camera is located and the distance from the island, and so on. And on a spherical Earth, this makes perfect sense that the horizon is above the top of the island. And on a flat Earth, it makes perfect sense that the horizon is above the top of the island. Although on a flat Earth, it should be considerably further above it. But that's not what we actually see.
Yeah? This has been totally ignored without fact.
It's not been ignored at all. It's absolutely part of the argument. The whole point of this is that this observation, every aspect of this observation, matches perfectly what we should see on a spherical Earth.
Factoring in perspective, totally ignoring perspective, and making.
And I have not ignored perspective in this. Perspective is to a large extent not relevant here, but it certainly hasn't been ignored.
A claim that because we are higher, we should be looking down through this lighthouse. Then what about this observation that the horizon, the water, appears to be higher than the island itself? So what is
This is not a problem for a spherical Earth. This is exactly what a spherical Earth would predict.
is your claim here? Do you claim to be looking into a bulge of curvature, that this water is in fact rising up in front of you and it's not an optical?
Perspective works on a spherical Earth as well as it works on a flat Earth. And yes, the surface does appear to rise up in your field of view. It just doesn't get high enough to get to eye level. It's just the same as looking out, or not just the same, but it's similar to what you would see looking out over a flat surface.
Optical phenomenon, because you are ignoring perspective, so one can only assume that you really believe.
I am not ignoring perspective, and I do not ignore perspective in any of the videos where it is relevant.
That this water is actually rising up physically in front of you.
No, it's not rising up physically in front of me. When we look out into the distance, we see in our field of view the things that are out in front of us. And when that's represented in 2 dimensions, as it is on the computer screen here, the surface appears to rise up and the sky appears to come down, and they appear to meet at a horizon. This is not a problem for a spherical Earth. And if the horizon here was at eye level, it wouldn't be a problem for the flat Earth. But the problem for flat Earth is that the horizon is not at eye level, as proved by the 73-meter focal height.
Rather than being an optical phenomenon. So if that's your claim, then this horizon, this water level, is higher than the island.
So what Phuket Word is doing here is building a straw man. He is misrepresenting the spherical Earth model, or the spherical Earth prediction, and he's claiming that spherical Earth predicts that this water should be below the level of the top of the island here. This is completely false and is a classic straw man.
So what's happening there? What is happening there? Is this water not going to come rushing back down?
No, it's not.
Cascading over the island because it suddenly got higher than the island? It's only higher than the island because you took a picture from a higher height than the island itself. And so the horizon in the background.
Yes, and I also took a picture that was higher than the focal point of this lighthouse.
Does rise up to appear to be higher than the island and most of the lighthouse, except that in this case the camera is tilted down rather than being in line with the horizon, which it should be and would be if your camera was at a horizontal level. So yeah, if you're going to ignore perspective and take these observations as they are and convert them into orthographic observations, then please do tell us how you're not even looking down here to a horizon that appears to be above the rock. Ah, dear. Okay. That's all for now. Thank you very much. No more bananas for these monkeys on a ball. Time to move.
So, let's have a little look at this. This is a scale drawing of the. Let's move this over. Of what we would expect on a spherical Earth and on a flat Earth. So first of all, let's look at the flat Earth observation. And this is done to scale. So this is Traprane Law at 210 meters. And this is the top of the lighthouse on the Isle of May. And as you can see, as we look on a direct line of sight downwards, directly behind the top of the lighthouse, we should encounter the sea. But the sea continues on into the distance, the far distance, and there is no reason why we should not be able to see all of that sea. Above the lighthouse. There is a direct line of sight all the way to the edge of my drawing here and beyond. And all of this water should appear above the lighthouse in our field of view. You can see here that the height of the lighthouse and the amount by which that water, just in my picture, not in reality, the amount that it should extend above the lighthouse is maybe half as much as the total height of the island and the lighthouse combined. So that would give you an idea of what you should be looking at on a flat Earth. Now, what's the situation on a spherical Earth? I may have messed that up somewhat. Hang on a moment. Okay. So if we get my fingers to work properly, if we zoom in on the spherical Earth part of the diagram, you can see once again we have exactly the same height for Traprane Law, we have exactly the same height for the lighthouse, and the circle, the sphere of the Earth, or the circle to represent the sphere of the Earth, is exactly to scale with the height here being 210 meters. So this is for a spherical Earth of 6,371 kilometers. And let's see what happens to the line of sight as it goes off into the distance. It gets close to the surface here, but then starts to go further and further away from the surface. Exactly as we observe in reality, the top of the lighthouse appears to be always above the surface of the water, above the horizon, and not at all what you see on a we should see on a flat Earth. So let's have a little look at the photograph itself once again. This photograph is impossible to take if the Earth is flat. The water, the horizon here should be up much higher than the top of the lighthouse. It's impossible to say exactly how much higher because we don't know the limits of visibility in this particular situation. I do know that a few frames earlier in this particular video clip I could see land that was over 90 kilometers away. So we know that it's at least 90 kilometers. We also know that the horizon on a spherical Earth would be at 50 to 52, 53 kilometers, that sort of distance. That's exactly what is borne out by the diagram that I have, the scale diagrams that I have just shown you. So, Mr. Phuket Word, what have you done? Well, you have failed to understand what eye level means. You have failed to understand what line of sight means. You have failed to understand what the meaning of or the importance of the center, vertical center of the field of view happens to be. And you have constructed a straw man here about the horizon and attempted to use that as your debunk. Nice try, but as usual, a complete fail. This photograph is impossible to take on a flat Earth. The Isle of May is 25.9 kilometers away. Camera height is 210 meters, meaning that eye level is 210 meters. Focal height of the lighthouse is 73 meters, and that is pretty much exactly where that arrow is. On a flat Earth, how can the horizon be lower than the 73-meter focal height of the lighthouse? Lower in our picture, lower in our field of view. Here is Walter Bislin's calculator predictions for a flat Earth and a globe Earth. Which one of these matches this photograph? The height of the top of this mountain here is the height of the island plus the lighthouse. It is not just the island. And look where it should be if the Earth was flat, and how much of the sea should be visible beyond. This photograph is impossible to take on a flat Earth. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'm sorry if that went on a bit long, but it was kind of done live.